I believe the ghost of a suicide victim tried to get me to kill myself too. Posted by either_difference_20. I shared this story in a comment in an Ask Reddit post, then realized it would probably be appreciated here. This is a true story. Trigger warning for suicide. My husband and I moved into an apartment a couple of years ago where I started to go insane. It always felt like someone was watching me, and I became horrifically depressed. I would get so sad that sometimes I would even just spontaneously start crying, and I often fantasized about hanging myself from the rafters in this one room. I would sometimes hear the rafters creaking. I had been depressed in the past, but this was something on another level. I was seriously suicidal, despite being happily married and genuinely enjoying life before moving into this place. I thought that I had some serious mental illness that was emerging. Several months into living there, our neighbor, a sweet old woman that had lived in the building for decades, told us that a young woman hung herself from the rafters in that room in the late 80s. She was discovered by a man walking his dog who saw her hanging in front of the window. Our neighbor said she was a very unfriendly person who kept to herself and never had anyone over. According to her, every single one of the female tenants in their mid-20s to early 30s that had moved in since her suicide never renewed their leases past the first year, and all seemed troubled, as she put it, while they lived there. I was 27 at the time, the exact same age she was when she died. My husband and I noped the fuck out of there pretty much immediately after we learned this. We still had a few months left on our lease, so we had to pay double rent during that time. But it was worth it. Literally, the day we got out, my mental health recovered completely and has been back to normal ever since. I believe with all my heart that she was there in that apartment with us, and for whatever reason, she wanted me to repeat history and endure the same fate as her. I didn't know Hatman was a thing until last month. Posted by Throwaway Hatman X. I'm a 33-year-old female and have never seen anything weird in my life until this happened. I was at home doing chores on a Saturday afternoon, laundry specifically. Husband was out doing errands, and I had The Good Place playing on the TV. I had just walked through the living room from the kitchen with a load of clean laundry and into the bedroom where I sat the hamper down next to the bed and began folding clothes. I could see the television directly from the spot I was standing, as I was still following along with the show. As I'm standing there, I see a dark shadow lean down in front of the television from the right side of the screen. It turns its head inquisitively towards me. That's the impression I got from it anyway, and it just stares at me. Well, I stared right back. It had no facial features or legs, but was clearly wearing a fedora and a goddamn suit. I was more startled than afraid. It honestly seemed more curious than aggressive, and I didn't really know what to do but stare back. I eventually blinked, and he was just gone. I finished folding the laundry and was admittedly shaking a little. I went into the living room, grabbed the PS controller, and rewound to the exact part of the show that it occurred. I thought there had to be an explanation, so I rewound and played the scene. It was the flying episode, and the scene was when Michael was sitting at a table with Tahani and Jason right before kicking the dog. I rewound and watched that scene from every angle of the living room, but couldn't find anything that looked like a shadow. Did some research on it and ended up on Reddit. Just now deciding to share because it's been on my mind, and I don't think anyone I know would believe me. They would probably humor me to be nice, but I don't want to seem crazy. It was real, and it's obviously a pretty universal thing. So bizarre. My cat passed away. Now we have a strange visit. Posted by Helpless Harpy. My cat was put down 3 weeks ago, at the age of 15. We had hand-raised her from a kitten and had been through so much together. I found her death unfair, because besides the tumor in her stomach, she was a completely healthy cat, eating, drinking, and of course, playing with her favorite toy. When she played with this toy, she would meow in the cutest way, a sound I've never heard from another cat. Recently, A well-groomed cat has started walking around our property at night. Usually I wouldn't think anything of it. There are a few cats around the place that often fight in the street. Maybe this one likes the vantage point of our fence, lol. But it makes her noise, and I've never seen this cat before. It doesn't look anything like her, but it won't let me get close enough to say hello either. It just meows out of the front of my window for a few seconds, then it leaves until the next night. It's been doing this for almost a week now. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but part of me thinks maybe she sent this cat to meow just like her, as a way of letting me know that she's okay wherever she is. The ghost who visited my 6-year-old son. Posted by Susie Floozy. When my son was 6 years old, we moved into a house where the elderly lady named Millie had died. It was right next to my friend's house, and they were having trouble renting it because everyone knew someone had died in that house. We were starving students, so we jumped at the chance to live in a house for cheap. Also, we were not believers of ghosts. The house was nice, and with a screened-in porch and large yard. One morning, 2 months after moving in, I found my 6-year-old son in his 4-year-old brother's room. Now, 6-year-old never slept with 4-year-old. I went into his room and I found he had moved a rocking chair, his toy box, and his clothes hamper up against his closet door. I asked him why. 6-year-old's room was directly across from the bathroom. He got up in the middle of the night and was sitting on the toilet when he saw a glow coming down the hall. An old lady with a candle stopped at the bathroom door and looked at him. She then turned into his bedroom and went into his closet, where she then disappeared. We didn't really know what Millie looked like, so I asked him to describe her. I wasn't sure if it was just his imagination, but he was truly terrified, even if it was a dream. He said she was very short with white hair. She had on a blue robe. He said the robe had lines on it, but he didn't think they were printed, but he still thought he saw lines on the robe. He was kind of obsessed with the lines, and being 6, he was having trouble describing it. I went next door and asked my friend how tall Millie was. Real short, she said. Maybe 4'11". My hair started standing up then. So I said, do you know what color robe she had? And she said, Millie had a blue chenille robe that she wore every day. Well, I really freaked out then because I realized that it was chenille fabric he was trying to describe for the lines on the robe. A 6-year-old does not know what chenille fabric is. Well, I first thought that maybe the neighbor's kids had told him about the old lady dying, and it was just his imagination. But the thing with the robe was disturbing. I couldn't imagine kids going into that kind of detail. A few months later, we moved because my son could not settle down and kept mentioning seeing the old lady. And after hearing the story, his pediatrician told me, don't you dare tell this child that he did not see a ghost. I don't want him to think he's crazy. And how dare we assume we know everything there is to know in this universe? I thought the pediatrician was very wise, and he made me a believer. Son, at 3:30 a.m.? Someone help. Posted by LXAA511. I had the strangest experience last night, and I can't figure it out. I need an explanation. So I woke up in the middle of the night, around 3:30 or 3:45. I might have been having a nightmare, but I don't remember. All I know is, when I looked out of my window, the sky was completely white and foggy. I know I wasn't dreaming because I splashed water on my face.
I checked the time multiple times. I don't know how it is possible that it was that bright at 3:30 in the morning. I've never felt more alone in my entire life. It felt like I was the only person on earth. I couldn't find my cat, and my mom wouldn't wake up when I tried. I still have the same lingering feeling of being alone, and I can't shake it. I went outside to make sure I wasn't seeing things, and it was still white and foggy outside. I live in Pennsylvania, nowhere with weird seasons, like Alaska or something. Standing from my porch, I could barely see the road because the fog was so dense. The only thing I could see is that there was a deer sitting in the middle of the road. I've never seen a deer do that. I don't know if it was injured or something, but I didn't go near it. I ended up going back inside and falling asleep around 7 a.m. The sky never changed. When I woke up, it felt normal, but I still can't get over this. Has anyone else experienced something like this? Does anyone know what the hell happened to me?